was the incense used in the tabernacle to be made? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Exodus on walking through the Bible.
His word, the glory of his cross.
If you have a Bible with you, turn to Exodus 30. We're going to be reading from verses 34 to 38. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Exodus 30, beginning at verse 34. And the Lord said to Moses, take sweet spices, stacte and onycha and galbanum, and pure frankincense with these sweet spices. There shall be equal amounts of each. You shall make of these an incense, a compound according to the art of the perfumer, salted, pure, and holy. And you shall beat some of it very fine, and put some of it before the testimony in the tabernacle of meeting, where I will meet with you. It shall be most holy to you. But as for the incense, which you shall make, you shall not make any for yourselves according to its composition. It shall be to you holy for the Lord. Whoever makes any like it, to smell it, he shall be cut off from his people. In this chapter, we still have Moses on Mount Sinai receiving instructions from the Lord. He has received instructions on how to build the Ark of the Covenant, including the mercy seat, how to build the table for the showbread, the golden lampstand, the altar of burnt offering, and the altar of incense. He received instructions on how to build the tabernacle and the court of the tabernacle, including where to place the holy items. The tabernacle itself would be divided into two parts by a veil, the holy place in front of the veil, where the golden lampstand, the table of the showbread, and the altar of incense would be, and the most holy place behind the veil, where the Ark of the Covenant and the mercy seat would be. The most holy place, we will find, would only be entered into on one day a year, and even then, only by the high priest. Moses also received instructions on what the priestly garments would look like, how to consecrate the priests, the daily sacrifices that were to be offered, the ransom money to be paid among the taking of the census, and the bronze laver. In our last episode, we discussed how the holy anointing oil was to be made and what it was to be used for. We found that God was very specific as to what the ingredients were, as well as the proportions of each ingredient. The reason being is that this oil was going to be used to anoint the tabernacle, the holy items, as well as the priests, and make them holy. Something is not holy if what God has commanded is not followed, a lesson for us today. This chapter concludes by telling us how the incense that was to be used in the altar of incense, talked about at the beginning of the chapter, was to be made. The incense was to be made of 3 spices. Stacte, a spice that is a gum or resin that exudes from a tree. It is difficult to determine what exactly is meant here, but some believe it to be storax, a deciduous shrub. The second sweet spice is onycha. Like with stacte, this ingredient is difficult to determine as well, with some believing it to be a type of shelled animal that lived in the sea, which would be used as a perfume. The third sweet spice is galbanum. It is an aromatic gum produced in some Persian plants. Even though we may not know for certain what each of these ingredients were, the Israelites would have known, so they could have obeyed God fully. These 3 sweet spices were to be mixed with frankincense, one of the most important of the aromatic gums used as a precious perfume. You may recall that along with myrrh mentioned in the holy anointing oil, frankincense was another item given to Jesus at his birth due to its value. Unlike in the holy anointing oil, where each ingredient was to be different in different proportions, the ingredients for the incense was to be in the same proportions. We do not get what these proportions are, signaling that Israel did get some choice in this matter, so long as the ingredients were used in the same proportions. This incense was to be made by someone who knew how to properly make it, so that it would be made pure and holy before the Lord. Some of the incense was also to be beaten very fine, so as we said earlier, it could be offered on the altar of incense. This incense would be offered on the altar twice a day, so the production of this incense would need to be constant. Just like with the holy anointing oil, this incense was not to be made for themselves according to this composition, for this incense was to be holy before the Lord. When these spices were mixed together, it would obviously create a rather pleasing aroma, so it might be tempting to make some for yourselves. For remember, people didn't bathe as often as we do, and it was hot and smelly outside, so having this nice smelling aroma would distract you from those other smells. However, that was not to be done with this incense. It doesn't mean that no other incense could be made for the people to use, but not using this composition. For if someone did so, they would be cut off from among the people. God viewed the sanctuary and everything in it as holy. It was where the place where he would meet the children of Israel would be. Therefore, the children of Israel were not to imitate the holy in their homes. Only those things which the Lord set apart as holy would be holy. This chapter concludes our look at the making of the sanctuary in the book of Exodus. We will get a review of these things later on in the book, however, when the items are actually made. In chapter 31, we have recorded for us the final words that God gave to Moses during those 40 days and 40 nights. So we hope you'll return to listen to those episodes. With that, our time is up for today. Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Exodus 31, verses 1 to 11, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.